Okay, guys, this video is for Wednesday, October 14th. And we're talking about church music now and the role of the worship leader. You don't necessarily have to be a musician to be a worship leader, to be an effective one, but you do have to know what to look for and listen for. And so we're going to get into that a little bit today. Music has always been a trouble spot within the church. No matter when it's been in throughout history, when new songs are introduced, new styles are introduced, there's always been some blowback. There's always been people who said, no, this is terrible stuff, this is evil even, no matter what it was. So that blowback is nothing new. Just expect it, okay? It's going to happen. The problem with a lot of church music is it's mediocre. Now, I've posted a paper, and I'm going to work from that a little bit here. Mediocre, what does it mean? The quality of being not very good. A person that is not very good at something or not very good at anything in particular, or something that is not very good. That's from the Oxford Dictionary of the English Language, so it's a pretty authoritative definition. Most church music is mediocre. Most worship music is mediocre. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some are a little surprising, but I got to admit something. I think I have been part of that problem. We'll get into that, okay? Okay, just a quick background refresh here. I am a very highly trained musician. Joined the school band in 5th grade and started playing the trumpet. I switched in the 7th grade to what's called the baritone horn or the euphonium. And by the 9th grade, I was solo chair, first chair, all the time throughout high school. I was also the solo chair with the All-Conference All-Stars Band and even the All-State All-Stars Band. I was first chair at the Western Michigan University Symphonic Band and also the University Wind Ensemble, and in several Army bands. 46 Infantry Division Band, 126 Army Band, 424 Army Band, U.S. Army Field Band. I was always solo chair, so I was pretty good. I performed for about 10 years with a group called the Jubal Brass, Jubal. Yeah, they still exist. They're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you want to, you can Google them. They will pop up. I have a college degree in music. I majored in music performance and music education and minored in voice performance. I spent 8 years as a junior high and high school band director before I changed professions. I'm very competitive. I'm also a perfectionist. That is part of my problem. I'm not the most gifted musician. I'm not. Never have been. But I am a determined perfectionist. And throughout that time frame, particularly college, I practiced between 2 and 3 hours every day, 7 days a week. That's the only way to maintain, to gain true proficiency and to maintain it. And it was hard, but when I would stand up on stage, or even with the wind ensemble or the symphony band, even with the marching band, if I made one mistake, a note wasn't perfect. That is what I would obsess on. And that's not healthy. It really isn't. But it does create very, very good, proficient musicians. So for me, every note had to be perfect in every way. And that's not very healthy, quite honestly, because you can never attain perfection. It doesn't exist. Even the world's best musicians, after they have done performing, and you may not pick up on something that they did, but they did, I'll guarantee you. You say, that was amazing, that was perfect. They'll say, no, it wasn't. There was an F sharp in that particular movement that I was just a little bit off on. It's not emotionally and mentally health-wise healthy, but it does produce beautiful music. And in about a week, I'm going to give you some amazing illustrations of what can be done, what is possible. But for today, we're not going there. We're going to have a little more fun. So, should we strive for excellence? Yes, absolutely. Always strive for excellence. Not perfection. Excellence. They are very different. So what is it about church musicians that produces mediocrity so much of the time? Well, they're usually unpaid volunteers. They're not professional musicians. They rarely have a high level of formal musical training. They may have played saxophone throughout high school. That's the extent of it. And they may not have been all that great, but they want to play. Okay? They're often mediocre that way. Now and then you'll find somebody who is truly, truly excellent, but it's not that common. It just isn't. I mean, All-State All-Stars band, okay, they had about 80 people in it. I was the only one from my high school to be nominated and to be accepted. So it's not that common. Highly trained and skilled church musicians have to lower their standards, which is not a fun experience. Now, I recall working with various praise teams and church bands and that sort of stuff. And it drove me nuts because I'm a perfectionist and they could not attain what I needed from them. Not even close. It was always a little bit off. And I had to remind myself, I'm a professional, they are not. They do not have the same training, they do not have the same standards, they do not have the same ability, and so on down the line. But they're volunteers. They want to do this. Most church musicians are very sincere. They want to serve, and they find satisfaction in being able to do so, and to lead in worship. Most smaller churches, and those are churches with fewer than 150 people in attendance, will tolerate mediocre music if the musicians are not egotistical and full of themselves, but are sincere in the desire to honor God. Your role is to balance everything, even if you're not a musician. Even mediocre musicians can produce excellent music with the right coaching. True. Like I said, next week I'm going to give you several examples of that. So, there are all kinds of issues that the worship leader has to deal with. One of them is there are always going to be people badgering you about, oh, play this song, sing this song, have them do this song. It's just amazing. Usually it's because it's popular. Popular does not equate to good quality. Some of the most popular quote Christian music that I've heard is really terrible stuff. I've heard some, they have one line of lyrics and they repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over again until you want to vomit. I know of one case where the worship leader, he was so into this chorus, he said, "Shall we sing that chorus one more time?" And somebody from the back yelled, "No!" But we do have this habit of repetition. Repetition gets old very fast. Great popularity is not necessarily an index of great worth. Many popular Christian songs have little to no value when it comes to the message. Many of them misread Scripture or misquote it or don't even bother to get around to quoting it. One of them was out a few years ago. He makes everything work together for my good. It's not what the Bible says. It does not say he makes everything work together for my good. It says he can bend things, make things work. There's a difference. And so some of these are really, really misleading. So you got to be careful. You got to know your Scripture as well. One of the more popular ones in the last several months has been, "Ain't no grave gonna hold this body down." Well, that's an old country song. Sung by Johnny Cash, long, long time ago before he died. Obviously before he died, or he wouldn't be singing it, would he? The whole history of Christian music is that people have loved music that has very little value, that really doesn't say anything of worth. The music may be beautiful, which means you can kind of forget the words, the lyrics. I think that's quite often what happens. Doesn't mean that those who love that music are lacking in any spiritual experience. It simply means there's better music out there. Much of it of greater power and beauty. So, you're going to have to deal with the diva. Every church has one, I think. The diva is the self-appointed expert who's always criticizing the music, telling you how to approve it, and just happens to claim to be a talented and trained soloist. Yeah. I remember one, he was actually a friend of mine. I liked him. He was a very nice guy. He had been taking voice lessons for 5 years, and he was convinced that he had this beautiful, beautiful baritone voice, and he was a soloist. He was tone deaf. He couldn't hear the pitch. It seems that his vocal coach was simply taking his money because he wasn't gaining anything out of it. He was tone deaf. He couldn't hear it at all. Then there's the improvisationalists. These are musicians. Usually band, usually instruments, almost always instruments. Keyboard, guitar, or drums. They decide that the music's too tame, It's too boring. It needs a little bit of improv. And so they improvise in the middle of a song, usually with disastrous results. Improvisation is an excellent way of hiding a lack of skill and talent. I remember one church had this teenage guitarist up there with the praise team. I don't think he knew a single chord, but he's Eddie Van Halen constantly, until they finally said, look, this stops. Thank you very much, but no thank you. That's all he did. Didn't matter what the song was. Could have been soft and slow and sweet and very prayerful. Oh dear. Couldn't play a lick. Then there are those, here's the main solution that I said, attempted solution that I run into. When all else fails, turn up the volume. Kick that amplifier up, put out 110 decibels, and it'll cover all sins. Yeah, it does. Most rock bands are actually terrible because no one has any training. They just picked up these instruments and taught themselves, so to speak. And so to cover up the fact that they can't play a chord, let alone a chord progression, turn up the volume. Headbanging music. It's pretty much what it is. No one then can tell even if there is a melody or any harmony, let alone what it is. It's just this cacophony of noise. Attitude is more important than talent. You want musicians who know they're not the best, who are humble, willing to listen, who take coaching lightly, who care about the message that they are leading, and who firmly believe that what they or we do is solely for the glory of God. The Reformation had a Latin phrase for it, soli Deo Gloria, glory only to God. When you have musicians like that, you can make it work, even if they're not that great. Because music does not have to be complicated, it can be simplified. Some of the most beautiful music I know is very, very simple. It really is. So, what do you avoid? Well, guess what? I got 10 types of musician to avoid. Number 1 is the one who never stops playing. Doesn't stop during the announcements, doesn't stop during prayer, doesn't stop between songs, doesn't stop during the sermon maybe. They don't stop even when the service is over and everybody's got left. Yeah, silence to them, silence is for players who don't know what they're doing. No. Silence is a powerful tool in worship. Or they say that, this is an attitude thing. Oh, these songs are so lame. Why don't we do something decent? Which is saying, this stuff is so far below me. I'm wasting my time here with you, whatever you are. You call this music? Oh, come on. This isn't music. Okay. I mean, come on. There's not a single augmented chord in the whole thing. I mean, there's not a complex German sixth on the keyboard. If it was a real song, you'd be tapping your fingers, moving around, wouldn't you? Be sure to let out an audible groan when the song is announced so everybody knows that you think it's lame. Oh man, roll your eyes too. Watch for these people. They will do it. It's involuntary. You do not want them. And they're not interested in wasting their time on a tuner. Now, what's a tuner? It gives a specific pitch. You set it to that pitch and bum, and it stays on that pitch. Why do you want that? So everybody tunes their instruments to that pitch. If you don't tune, you're going to be out of tune, and that hurts the ears. Have you ever heard several trumpets playing, but you can only hear one trumpet? That's being perfectly in tune with each other. Or several voices, and you only hear one voice. Same thing, perfectly in tune. If you've got several voices and you can hear them all, they're not in tune. Now, what do I mean by in tune? I mean, I'm talking about the same frequency, the same level of vibration. Not higher, not lower, but the same, the exact same. That is called intonation. Intonation. You have to be in tune. And you do that by matching your pitch to the same note. Everybody does it. I don't care what instruments you have. Let's say you're going to match your pitch to the B flat on the keyboard. No problem. It's the top in a sequence of 3 black keys. It's the farthest one on the right. That's B flat. And tune to that. Why? Brass are almost trombones and trumpets are always in B flat, so they can do it without using any of their valves. They can do it as a straight trumpet, and they can adjust that. The French horn is different. It's in a different key entirely. It's in the key of F. So they have to find the pitch that matches. But the key is everybody gets in tune with each other. Okay? It's not that. Yeah, it is. Some of them just don't listen. Some of them try to listen but can't hear it. I mean, if you've ever heard, let's say you've got 2 women, 3 women singing, and they're all badly out of tune with each other. It sounds like a cat fight. You don't want a cat fight in worship. Listening is key. So if you're not going to be the music leader, you have to find somebody who can do this, who can get them in tune with each other. Sometimes you're going to find this prima donna who's like, oh my gosh, makes some wrong notes, and then points at the sound people and points at the guitar and points at sound people like, hey, it's your fault. I didn't hit a wrong note. You guys did this. Don't let them go away with it. Okay? Understand you're never loud enough. Like I said earlier, the volume thing is about covering bad musicianship. Vocalists should never learn a new song using microphones. Never. It should be not necessarily a cappella, but not amplified. They should be in a circle with each other so they can see each other, hear each other, and they can match pitches. You give them a microphone right away, they will never be in tune because you can't hear it. And if you're going to use microphones, you really need to have feedback earbuds. They're not that expensive. So they can hear themselves as they relate to other people. This is why when you look at professional rock musicians, any of those, they've always got earpieces in. Always. Because that's the only way they can actually hear what it is they are doing. So it's important that they listen. It is not the sound guy's fault. If you're not loud enough in the house mix, then just kick up your own volume if you can. This is true of guitars in particular. They almost always have some form of an amp or controller right there. Keyboards quite often do too. Well, if you don't like it, it's loud enough, kick it up. Yeah. Make sure everyone knows that your time is more valuable than theirs. I hate these musicians. All right, I got other stuff to do, guys. I can't sit around here all day. I mean, come on. It's a nice put down. It says, I am superior to you. My time is more important than you are and your time. And so I'm just going to do this until you shut me up, and you're not going to shut me up because you're too polite. I'm not that polite. I'm gentle at first, but as it continues, I get more and more in your face till I finally say, George, shut up or leave. Your choice. I'm hoping you'll leave. They do, most of the time, not always. Play the wrong part. Oh, yeah. Or in the wrong key. This is horrible. You're going to, in one of the videos, you're going to see very soft, very sweet prayer song. Keyboardist is doing a great job. The saxophone comes in, and he's in a totally different key. It sounds horrible. And he can't hear it. He doesn't hear it. They should have stopped immediately. Said, whoa, what's going on here? You're in the wrong key. Now, for those non-musicians, key is hard to explain. But it's a set of how the notes relate to each other, whether whole steps or half steps, which is another lecture. Recruit a sidekick. You always have somebody who agrees with you. They will, anyway. You don't want these people around. You really, really don't. Be competitive. Music is a team sport. It is not competitive. Music requires the 100% cooperation of 100% of the people 100% of the time. It's not a competition. It's not a competition to play louder than everybody else so that everybody can hear you. No. The main role is to play your part perfectly and blend in so much that nobody can hear you specifically. It can be done. They tend to put other people down. They do it kind of subtly, sometimes pretty blatantly. As he wrote here, don't be encouraging. If your bass player's band is recording an album, ask who's producing and then comment, you've never heard of them. Then talk about your own music career for the rest of the conversation. Backhanded compliments are a plus. Nice job on the drum fill, man. When I heard it on the record, I didn't think you could land it. Another week of practice and you should have it. It's not exactly a compliment, is it? Nope. Ego. This is the type of person who says, this whole worship team's about me. Without me, you are nothing. That person is a cancer that needs to be cut out and eliminated from the worship team. I don't care how good they are. If that is their attitude, they're going to poison everything. Churches almost always used to have choirs. A lot of evangelical churches don't have them anymore. They've gone to praise teams, praise bands, that kind of thing, worship teams. But the choir was usually a haven for little old ladies and men who couldn't sing. And choirs are usually pretty bad, which is why I think they got rid of most of them. But you're going to hear some good ones next week. You're going to hear a really bad one today. We used to call the choir the war department. You would be amazed at how many church conflicts came out of the choir, out of the choir loft. So it's a very well-earned nickname, the war department. But even a bad choir can be good with the right coaching. And it does not take extraordinary talent to create extraordinary music. What does it take? Excellent coaching and self-discipline. If you have those two things, you can make it work. So your job, even if you're not musically trained, is to find people who fit the right roles. They will then bring in the other people that they need. Choir usually is a free-for-all. Everybody who shows up is automatically a member of the choir. It's not true in college. You audition. You have to be good enough. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be a soloist, but it does mean you have to have the ability to sing in tune and so on. Choir music can be some of the most powerful music you'll ever hear as well, because thousands of pieces have been written for choir. Most of the more contemporary ones are pretty cheesy. I wouldn't go there at all. But the older ones, by Bach and others, wow. And to think that they could hear this all in their heads is just amazing. So, take a look at, go to Populi, go to the discussion board or the files page, and what you want to do is download the paper I've just been talking about for today, and run down to the back, and you're going to find the real life illustrations. This is where it gets to be fun. You're going to find really bad drummers. You're going to find the world's worst church singer. The reason why most churches no longer have choirs. Oh my. And there's the worst group. Oh, here's one of my favorites, Christian breakdancing. Mm-hmm. You're going to laugh. Then there's Henrietta and Myrna singing Go Tell It on the Mountain, sort of, kind of, horribly. Then there's the next to the worst singer. You got to rank them. You can't have everybody being the worst. Finally, the worst of all time, a video called Rappin' for Jesus. Turns out it was a parody. People took it very seriously. I did when I first saw it. It wasn't. And the last one down there is simply, I'm just simply telling you, you have got to be kidding me. Really? So take a look at all of these videos, please. And on the discussion page, by next Monday, please write up your observations. What did you think? How did you react? What do you think your capabilities are as a worship leader? Because you are then responsible for creating that sacred box, that sacred space. And these people can't do it. It's not possible for them. They make everything worse. All right, guys. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.